Okay, Daf Mem Amud Aleph, like 10 lines from the top. Two dots. Tenor Banan. Aputrapus Mishalmin Ma'alia, according to the first opinion, if the animal does damage from a yatom, that the supervisory agent of the orphans are watching it and the animal does damage, he's responsible to pay for the property. But if it kills someone, they don't have to pay kofar. Mantana kufra kapara, who's hold that the kofar payment is a kapara, viat milabine kapran. And since the Yitamim don't need kapara for their patur, right? Meaning, is that the reason why the agent's patur? Because since they're kitanim Yitamim, therefore they don't need to have the kapara, therefore they're patur. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Yechizda, Rabbi Yishmael, Benosh Rabbi Yochanan, Ben Barokai. Tanya. Pasuk says, Venatan Pidyon Afsho. The owner of the ox that killed shall give a price, shall give the money for the person that was killed. The many zag, referring to the monetary value of the person who was killed. The main mazik, referring to the value of the owner of the ox. This is basis hold it. Hold it. It's a knas. It's like a payment you have to pay. Therefore, you have to pay it based off the damagee. But Rabbi Yishmael ben Yochanan ben Roka savar kufra kapara is referring to an atonement. It's for kapara, for killing someone. Therefore, you have to pay your own value. So we see Rabbi Yishmael ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Roka is the one who holds that it's kufra. Umar says, nah, not a good explanation. The kula amal kufra kapara. Everybody holds kapara. V'hacha makniv was machlok between over here and Chachamim. Rabbanan Savrei b'din izakshim. Chachamim hold that you do the kapara for the person who got killed. That means we go according to the damager. My time the Rabban Hakim hold that it goes according to the damagee. Namra Shita, the Mata mentions the word Shita, right? It was referring to like the person payment. Namra Shita Lamalan also mentions it on top, right? The one that regarding payment for someone who causes by a different pasuk regarding making a payment for someone who causes a woman to miscarry. Malalan is actually like over there in the case of the miscarriage, it goes according to the damagee, which is the fetus / mom. Afkam is actually over by kofir also. So he uses Xer Shava. Rabbi Shmuel, what does he hold? How come it goes by the mazik? Then he says he has to give a ransom for his own life, which is referring to the owner of the ox. What does they learn with that word of an avsho? In Pidyon Avsho it does say that. Say it's true that the owner is redeeming it for himself. However, when he's redeeming it for himself, we use the Xer Shava to teach you that it goes according to the Nizak's price. Okay. Rava spoke praise of Rav Nachman, of Rav Yaakov to Rav Nachman. The Adam Gadol, because he's a big tzaddik. Amar Rav Nachman said to him, next time he comes to you, bring him to me. Like, I want to see what this guy is made of. When he arrived, Amar told him, I ask you a question. And he asked him the following. So he said, Rav Nachman asked him, ask me any question. Rav Yaakov said, okay, want me to test you? I'll test you. Shor shel shnei shutafin, an ox belonging to two people. Ketzad mishalmin kofir, how shall they pay kofir? Mishalem hai kofir, do they each pay one set of kofir? Or kofir echad, shnei kofir, or maybe you're only supposed to pay one, not two. Hai chatzi kofir, maybe they should each pay half. Kofir shalem chatzi kofir, but the Torah says you have to pay a kofir, and I don't have a kofir. So how do we establish kofir for a partnership of ox that killed? Another question. As he was thinking about the question, he asked him another thing. A person who is chayav in erechin, right? We said erechin, we said it previously, and I believe Maseret Sotab, going back 250 days ago. Erechin is when a person says that they used to have like set prices for what a person of a certain age is worth, and if he's in good health, etc. So let's say a guy would say the price of a 15-year-old boy on me. What does that mean? He has to pay the price of a 15-year-old man as a donation to Bet HaMikdash. Whatever he said, whether it's himself but they talk about someone else, a general age. Let's say someone obligated himself, right? And he says he'll give a donation for the erech of someone or something. Okay. The Mishnah says over there that Bedin is able to, Bet HaMikdash, the treasurers are able to grab the money from him because we're afraid he won't pay. But we don't force the guy to bring a Korban Hashem or Korban Hatat. What about Kofir? Do we force the guy to bring or not? It says, maybe because it's considered like a kapara, like the Korban Hatat and Hashem, he'll take it upon himself, he'll chase after him to bring it. Or perhaps since he has to pay his friend and not to God, it's like a money obligation. It won't be taken seriously. If you have to bring it from him, right? What does that mean? Even if it's a chiyuv to do something, but the fact that you have to hand it to someone else and it bothers someone that you're giving to someone else, even though it's kapara, it won't feel like kapara. And there's a famous case. There's a case of a guy who I remember the exact story. A guy came over to a rabbi and he had like a tremendous animal with him, a huge animal, $4,000 animal. And he said to the rabbi, is it kosher or not? The rabbi said, not kosher. Throw it all in the garbage. It's like, no problem. Next day, he goes over to the rabbi. He's having an argument with his friend. The rabbi says, sorry, you're wrong. Pay your friend $20. The guy starts flipping out. Wow, wait, $20? What are you talking about? I'm like, full rabbi, check the book again. Check the book again. No, I don't believe you. And the rabbi said, for $4,000 that you had to throw in the garbage, no problem. But the second you have to bring $20 to give someone else is the problem. So it shows over here as well that it depends on how you're looking at it. The case of erich, the case of kofet. Even though it's kapara, so we say, well, maybe it's kapara, therefore you don't have to chase after him like a korban. Or maybe since you have to pay someone, it's considered like a knas or money, and the guy won't feel like kapara, therefore you should have to chase him. So what do we do? Or maybe, since he himself didn't do anything, rather his animal did, and the only damage, right, only his property killed something, maybe he won't be taking it seriously, but if you have to chase after him. So, Amalai said to him, Shavkan, it's tagar b'kamaita. He said, why are you asking me a second question? You asked me a first question. Let me think of an answer. And then I'll talk about the second question. Right? He stopped him in his tracks. If someone borrowed an ox, assuming that it was a tam, right? If I borrowed Mark's ox and said, hey, can I borrow your ox? And I assumed it was a tam, then imsa mu'ad. And then I realized it was a mu'ad and it gored while I had it. The owner pays half and the borrower pays half. Let's say I borrowed the ox and it became mu'ad while I borrowed it. Then I gave it back to the owner. And the damage there. The owner pays half, and the shoel patur from everything. So the Gemara says, one second, more. If you borrowed the ox, assuming it was a tam, then in tam was you realize muad. Each pay half. Why is the borrower chayav at all? Tell the owner, I borrowed an ox. I didn't borrow a lion. Meaning that what? I borrowed it. I thought I was borrowing a calm ox. So yeah, truth. It damaged. Now you have to pay muad, but I shouldn't have to pay anything. You should be responsible for everything. Because I didn't know you gave me a wild ox that I have to watch with a chain and an iron fence. I just borrowed a regular ox. I thought I was borrowing a regular ox that I could just keep calm. Where you noticed it was you even though you thought it was a tam, but you knew it was an aggressive ox. It was a antsy ox, and therefore you knew it was a gorer. Therefore, you should have been more careful. The name of just tam shili muad lo shili. But I didn't want to borrow a muad because I didn't want to pay money. So maybe they should patur. Because he could tell him so. In the end, even if he had been a tam, palga niska ba'ad psumi, you'd still pay half since you didn't watch it. Hashtanami, since over here also, even though it was a muad, zil shalem palga niska, you're still paying half. That's much like you're paying 50%. The name of the borrower still the owner still. Itam have if it was a tam, mishan the gufo. I'd have to pay from. You would have to pay from the ox's actual body, right? We say you sell the actual ox, but over here now it's in water. I have to pay cash or property. The owner, he says no, that doesn't work because the owner can still tell him off. So at lav Torah ba'it shalom di, you still have to repay me the ox. meaning you're not saving anything. Sure, I'd have to sell my ox to pay for the damages because it's Tam, but you'd have to repay me for my ox. So basically, either way you look at it, you'd be responsible for 50% of the damage. Another question: been able to tell the owner, turn the page. Im tam hava, if you win a tam, modina umipatrina. I would have confessed that I made a mistake, and I wouldn't patur because chatzina zikabatam is a knas. Umode biknas patur. If you admit to a knas situation without being caught in betin, you're patur. Even according to the opinion that holds, right, so it's machloket. One opinion holds that it's actually a monetary payment and not a knas. So even according to the opinion that holds that it's a monetary payment and not a knas, he could have said, Itamhu have a ma'akrin. I would have left it in the swamp and hid it there, and therefore I could have avoided paying if it's hidden away. Kamar says, referring to that case where the court jumped ahead and grabbed the ox first before you had an opportunity to hide it. If the court grabbed it, why is the owner paying half? You can tell the borrower, you brought my ox into a situation with someone I can't get my claim back, meaning I can't fight against the court to get my ox back. Therefore, you have to pay the ox to pay me back. Like if I lend you my car and you get it locked up in the police pound, then yeah, you'd impound, whatever it's called, then you'd have to pay me back. So yeah, great. My ox is still alive, but I have to buy it out, and you have to pay me back for that. Where it says Mishin Damar because the owner is still chayav. Why? Because he could tell him, if I had given the ox back to you, they would have still taken it back from him. The fact that they confiscated it before they got back to you doesn't make a difference. Continuation of the back and forth. The name of the owner should tell the borrower. If you would have returned it to me, I would have hid it in the swamp so that I wouldn't have to pay. Therefore, you should have paid me. The Gemara says, no, not a good proof because the borrower can say, you would have to pay from aliyah, top property, nothing to do with ox. So you could have hid it for 20 years, you still have to pay property, it doesn't make a difference. That don't make sense if the owner had other property to pay with. But if he doesn't have other property and had to use the ox to pay, he could have hidden it and not paid. Because he could have answered him, he could have told the owner, just like I am responsible to give the ox to you, so too I'm responsible to give it to the damagee, right? The same way I'm responsible to give it to you because I owe it to you, I'm also responsible to give it to someone that you owe it to, the damagee property, because there's a three-way transaction going on here. I owe you money and you owe him money, I can give it directly to him. Reuven owes Shimon, Shimon owes Levi, Reuven can give it directly to Levi. Someone owes $100 from his friend. That friend owes another $100 from another friend. Right, another you could give from A, you give it straight to C and bypass B. Okay, interesting. Therefore, the owner can't complain that it wasn't given to him, and he has to pay half. Next case. If the ox became a muad while it was borrowed, if they have to give back to the Baal, the Baal has to pay half. Now, the second case, this is referring to a case where the muad changed ownership, right? Jurisdiction, like I mentioned yesterday. It was in the borrower that went back to the owner while it was in muad, and seemingly it went back to the tam. But in the first case, the new jurisdiction doesn't change the halacha, right? The first case where you borrowed it as a muad thinking it's a tam didn't make a difference. You still have to pay as a muad. How come that change of jurisdiction didn't change anything, and over here in the second case it does change? Tavra, good question. Whoever learned the first part of the Braita didn't teach the second Braita. Meaning it's a good question, and therefore there's two different Braitot, basically, or two different opinions. Different answer about Amar. From the fact that the first case shows that it's not a change, the change of jurisdiction does not change the status of the animal, so to the second case. So why does it revert to Stam in the second case? Because the owner can tell the borrower, it's not within your power to make my ox a muad, right? It's not your ox that you borrowed. the ox that you borrowed is not in your power to make my ox. Sorry, my ox in your possession cannot be made in what? It's my ox that has to be made in what? The second case that it's referring to a change of status. He's going the opposite way. The first case must be talking about a change in status as well. How come in the first case it doesn't change back to a tam, even though you borrowed it? Because because wherever the borrowed ox goes, the name of the owner is still upon it. Therefore, since now the borrower has this ox, but it's a known muad ox, he has to be responsible as a muad. Next part of the Mishnah said, the ox of the arenas, right? The ox of the Colosseums, which gores people. Even though it kills people, which we usually kill that bull for. However, over here, since it's being forced to kill and encouraged to kill, you do not kill it. Ibailu. Okay, we don't have to kill it. What's the halacha? Ma'u legabe mizbeach. Are you allowed to bring it as a korban? Rav Amar kasher. Rav says you can use it. Ushmuel Amar la kasher. Pasul. Shmuel says pasul. Rav Amar kasher anusu. Rav says you're allowed to use it because it was coerced, it was forced into killing. Ushmuel Amar pasul harene ebad bavra. Shmuel says pasul because whether or not it was forced, it did it. Right? It killed someone. You can't use it as a korban. Let's bring a proof according to Shmuel that pasul mitzvah mina behema. Right, you're allowed to bring the pasuk says min habema from the animals for a korban. This is excluding the animal that was sodomized by a person or sodomizing a person, right? Whether it was the action was done to or doing the action. Min habakar to exclude an animal that was worshipped. Uminat son from the flock to refer to an animal that was excluding an animal that was used as a korban for the zera. Uminatzon to exclude the animal that gored and killed someone. These all may not be used as korbanot. So now, Marbi Shimon, I make sense in the case of if you mentioned the case where it was the animal sodomized the person. Why would you have to mention the case of the gored? If you mentioned the case of the goring, why do you have to mention the case of sodomizing? Meaning, exclude one and you know the other. They each have a stringency in each case of the sodomizing animal and the goring animal that would need to be taught because without it you wouldn't have known the other. Why? An animal that sodomizes a person, it's as if it is done on purpose, even if it was forced. But regarding an ogeach, a goring, we do not consider coercion like force, meaning by choice. Meaning, if it was forced to kill, we don't look at it like they had a choice, and therefore it would be patur. So therefore, we see the animal that sodomized a person is more strict than the one that gored a person. Nogeach Mishlim Kofer, a goring ox that killed, he pay Kofer. Rovea, and Mishlim Kofer, but Rovea does not pay Kofer. The Fika, who tracht Rovea, therefore teach me Rovea, the sodomizing one. They will teach both. So we see, therefore, however, regardless of what we just said, what do we see from this breakdown? An animal sodomized, the Torah made it as if it was by choice. We do not treat it like it was by choice. It's teaching you, must be teaching you that the fact that it didn't treat it like choice, therefore, it must be teaching you that if it was forced into goring a person, you can use it as a korban against Shmuel. Or it says, it's referring to killing it. Right, it's teaching you that if it killed the person by force, it was forced into killing someone, you don't kill it. And also we could see it elsewhere. If you thought that the Braita was teaching you that it's pasul, that it's mutar for a korban, when it said that the animal that gored, it does not treat it like coercion, like choice, right? Lav honest detective, lav rasum detective, right? Right, it does not consider the choice to be by choice as well, like the coercion to be like choice. Lav honest detective, lav rasum detective, because the pasuk does not mention the pasuk does not mention Forced does not mention choice. Therefore, the Torah doesn't make a difference, doesn't care about whether or not it did it on purpose or not. And therefore, what is the Bretta must be talking about? The pasuk must be talking about the Bretta must be talking about that regarding to killing the animal. It must be talking about that the case is referring to that the animal is patur to killing the animal if it was forced. Sorry, I got distracted. There's a call. Amar Mor. Nogeach Mishnah the kofer, an owner that gored a person pays kofer. Rova'ino Mishnah the kofer, but an animal that sodomized a person does not pay kofer. Mechidami, what's the case that the sodomized person does not pay kofer? If it's referring to the case where it's sodomized and then it killed by sodomizing. What's the difference how it killed him, whether it was with his horn or through sodomy? It should be chayav regardless. Maybe it's referring to the case where it's sodomized but didn't kill. If that's the case, why it should not pay kofer is not because of leniency, because it didn't kill. Meaning, kofer is only referring to a case of murder where the animal killed something, and therefore, when there's no murder, there should be no kofer. So the owner of an animal that committed sodomy, the owner of the animal that sodomized the person, is not exempted from, is not patur from kofer because there's no kofer involved. It's referring to a case where it's sodomized and didn't kill. But we're speaking of a case where the woman was later brought to the Bedin and they killed her for living with the animal. So therefore, you might think, since the ox that lived with her caused her to end up dying through mitat Bedin, therefore you might think you have to kill the ox because of that? No. Rav Amar, different answer. The Lam de Rabba Katla is referring to a case where it's sodomized and killed her. Udka Kashlach, and it said before, what difference would it make between sodomizing, murder, or murdering with its horn? Can come to Lazik, because the difference, if it's trying to kill her with its horns, he actually tried to kill her. I can cool. But over here, when it was sodomizing it, it was only trying to have sodomy pleasure, and it was not trying to kill. Therefore, it should not be kofar. Mike Lee was machloket based off of the regel right? We had this many times before. It's comparable to a case of regel, which regular concept of walking, where an animal stepped on a child in the damagee's property. You pay kofar because there's no intent to kill. There's no kofar because he did not try to kill him, he was trying to walk through. Right? The straight out right according to Rav that shows that an ox of the arena that was forced to kill people does not die and is kasher for the korban because it was forced to do it. To the Mishnah and stop there. Ox that gored a person and it died, and he died. Mu'ad the Mishnah kofer. The ox is a mu'ad, you pay kofer. V'tam patur b'na kofer, but the time you're no kofer. But regardless, the ox automatically should be killed. V'chem beben, v'chem bebad. So too, if it was referring to where the victim is a minor, the ox is killed regardless, and if it's a mu'ad, you pay kofer. Nagach eved o ama, if you kill a slave or a maidservant, you kill it, and you pay 30 sa'im to the owner of the slave. No matter how much it's worth, whether it's $1,000 or $10, you still pay the 30 coins. Doesn't make a difference. It's a set price. We'll stop here by the